Good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today, if you can tell from the title of this, we're going to be going over the install of the TCS Motorsports Big Brake Kit. I am very fortunate that Ty from TCS was able to sponsor this video and help me out, so big shout out to TCS Motorsports for sponsoring this video. Alright guys, let's go ahead and dive right into this and see what tools are needed to get this done and what exactly comes in the TCS Motorsports Big Brake Kit. Alright guys, let's start off by showing you the tools that are going to be needed to get this kit done. This is everything in my opinion that I feel is needed to get this done and will help you out. It's a very basic setup. These are very basic tools I would find in most households, so this should make it easy. The only thing I would think of, and I'll start with this tool that might be a little hard for some people to get, is I do own a Dremel. This will come in handy. This isn't 100% necessary, but this will be something you might need along the way, and I'll show you guys if it does come in handy. 2 pry bars. You will need a 17 millimeter, a 10 millimeter, a second 10 millimeter, and you also need a 7/16, and also a 16 millimeter. You'll also need an adjustable, a 3/16 hex key. You will need some brake lube, and lastly, you'll need 1 ratchet. These are all the tools you guys will need to get this done. I like to think there's some very basic tools. Now for the pry bars here, guys, if you do have some old flathead screwdrivers, those will suffice for these. If there's anything you guys can use, you can switch in and out of tools, but in my opinion, this will make it the easiest for you to get it done. All right, now that we know what tools we need, let's go ahead and look at the kit, because that's what we're all here for. All right, guys, here it is. So this is one side to make this really easy. This is going to be one side. Obviously, there will be there will be 2 sides of your big brake kit, but to make this simplified, I'm showing you one side of it and going over exactly what you'll need to install one side of the brake. So you have 1 rotor from StopTech, which either slotted or you can have it with fully ventilated. This will come from StopTech. You have a Wilwood super light caliper. These are extremely nice. Pulling them out of the box, these are very, very high quality. I'm very impressed with the way Wilwood makes these. You have 2 Wilwood brake pads. Here's what the big money maker is. This is the actual bracket you'll need to make this all bolt up. Obviously, this won't bolt directly to the stock position on the MR2. So TCS makes this custom bracket with a couple other pieces here. You'll also have these aluminum bushings that you'll need to help space these correctly. It'll also come with 2 bolts here and also all the hardware, and you'll need to reuse 2 bolts from the old brake setup when you removed your old brakes. And lastly here, you have a stainless steel brake line that is very nice and Teflon coated to keep it from any type of corrosion and lasting you quite some time. This is everything you'll need, guys. Again, this is everything that comes in the kit. Obviously, you'll double this amount, so you have 1 for the left side and then 1 for the right side of the car, making this very easy. So this is it. Now let's get to the fun part. Let's get to installing and showing you guys exactly what you need to do to make this happen. All right, guys, first thing we need to do here is remove the 3 10 millimeter bolts that hold this dust shield on. Because we're putting a bigger rotor on it, it will now hit this dust shield, so this needs to be removed. There's a total of 3 of these little 10 millimeter bolts around the hub area. Just take a 10 millimeter box wrench of any sorts, and as usual, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, and break this loose with a little bit of effort. There you go, already broke it loose, and there goes the first one, guys. Now again, there's 3 of these you'll need to remove. Very, very simple to get off. All right, guys, now that we have the 3 bolts removed, we need to get this shield off. To get this off, normally you would have to remove the hub and slide this piece off. Most of you're not going to want to do that, including myself. So this is where the Dremel and some of those pry bars come in handy. You'll notice here there's a very thin strip of metal that's holding it on here. You can either take one of those pry bars and you can either really just smash into it, and it'll usually, this is just thin aluminum. After a while, it'll usually break over time and just give in and it'll pop off for you. You have to wiggle with it some. You have to bend this out and move it around. This is where it's going to take a little bit of work, or you can use your Dremel to cut it down enough that it should pop, and take your pry bar in there, wiggle it around some, and it should pop off. These are your 2 options if you have normal tools, or if you have a grinder, you can try and hit it. It is a very tight space to try and get a grinder in, so that's why I recommend a Dremel or using the pry bar and just beating it down with a hammer. This is not the most sophisticated way of doing this, but it's the way that I found does the best, and is the easiest and most readily available tools. So I'm going to go ahead and start out of here, guys, and see how it goes. There we go, guys. You can see it there, it finally split apart. So now here's the part where you take your pry bar and start prying away at as much as you can. And there you go, guys. It is now off. After enough of prying with these bad boys, it's finally off, and now you have a clean, free hub to actually get your rotor on now. Now here's the fun part. Now we can finally actually install the big brake kit, and this is where it gets fun, and we actually get to see the end results. All right, guys, next up, we're going to install the bracket using the two old or the original bolts and hardware, but you're going to use these two washers that are supplied by TCS on the back side of it here. So the way it bolts on is like so. We're going to start with the top, take this with a washer, try and thread this in. Yep, that's threaded in. We'll go ahead and thread the bottom part now. Yep. Great, now those are easily threaded on. Now to tighten these down, you'll use your 17 millimeter to tighten these down. And to be honest, I don't really have any true torque spec. I use handy spec, which I mean is tighten it down till you feel it's very, very tight and you feel like you couldn't go anymore, and you should be good to go. Before we throw the caliper on, what we want to do though is remove this little decal here, or sticker. This is where your NPT fitting that was out of your actual brake line that is supplied by TCS, this is where it gets inserted. So let's go ahead and peel back this sticker real quick. Let's go ahead and insert our NPT brake fitting. Go ahead and start that in. And what you're going to do now is take your 7/16 that we talked about earlier, that we need to supply for the tools, that you need to supply, I should say. We're going to go ahead and then crank that down by hand and crank it down to it's about, I don't know, I would say as tight as you could probably get it. Obviously, you don't want to strip the threads by any means, but you want to get it as tight as you can. All right, guys, now that that's in and good and tight, now we can go ahead and install the rotor, then we can install the caliper, and then I'll tell you guys what to do after that. Now, before we install the rotor on here, guys, I want to show you exactly how we install these spacers, because some people are probably going to wonder, what do these do? These actually go on the outside here of this bracket and go on the inside of the Wilwood caliper. So they both would go in through like this. You will stick your bolt up through it like so for both of them, and it will feed in through and then connect right here to your adapter. So guys, can you see that there? It's very, very, very simple. You'll also, for your bolt, just to make it clear, you'll have one washer and one lock washer. Feed it up through and then bolt it on. I wanted to show you guys this beforehand just so there's no confusion. It makes this very easy, because once I put this rotor on, you guys won't be able to see how the caliper is being bolted on. I just wanted to make sure this is clear. Now that we know that, let's go ahead and throw the rotor on here real quick, and then let's go ahead and bolt up our caliper. Now guys, once you get them started to thread in, you're just going to go ahead and finger tighten them for now. And then once we get them on there a little bit tighter, we'll go ahead and crank them down. All right, and get that last crank, and we're good, guys. Now the caliper and the rotor is on. Next is up. We're going to have to go ahead and put the brake pads in, guys, and this is really easy. Wilwood makes this very, very simple. You don't have to take the actual caliper off itself. They just feed in from the top. Now, to do this right, though, we're going to put some brake lube on this, or I should say brake grease, so the brake pads do not squeal. And yeah, this is going to be very, very simple here, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how they do this. All right, guys, so I went ahead and lubed up the backside of the brake pads and some of the sides of it. Now, make sure you slide these in. If you see here, at the top of the brake pad itself, there's like these little claws. You want to make sure that's the side that goes to the back. So you want to take it and slide it down in. You have to wiggle it around a little bit. Just like I said, the rotor's on here loose, so you have to might move that on there just like so. And let's take our other one here. Again, we might have to wiggle the rotor some just because it's not perfectly on there. And down in. Done. Very, very simple. Now, to hold those in place, we have that little bar, and let me show you how you want to attach that just so it looks pretty. It doesn't really matter for this part. This is more aesthetics, but this is how I would prefer that you guys install it also. Now, there's this little bar here that goes over top. This black piece here is metal, and then you have this long bolt. You can obviously thread it to the front like this, and you see this ugly, nasty stud and everything coming out, but you don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and lay the metal bracket in like so. We'll feed the bolt through. This way, all you see is the nice, pretty Allen head on this side, and then the ugly stud end and the actual nut are on the other. Now, what you're going to have to do is we're going to have to use our 11 millimeter on the nut head and our 3/16 hex key on the hex head. And we're just going to go ahead and spin that on here real quick. And there you go, guys. That's 100% on. All right, guys, now that we have our stainless steel line fed up through, attached down here to the Wilwood caliper, and attached up here to the brake line, all you need to do next is take your 10mm wrench, crank down up here, and then you need a adjustable is what I have been using for the bottom fitting, and just crank that down. Again, you're just hand tightening these guys. Don't overdo it, especially the top one. You can use a 10mm or you can use the adjustable like we did to remove it. You just want to be careful that you do not strip that top fitting, because once you round it off, it's going to be very difficult to get it off, or you have to cut the fitting off, and we know we do not want to do that. All right, guys, there it is as a whole. Look at everything. It is beautiful. You can see our brake line up in there, but this looks fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and throw my Ray's Engineering wheel on this real quick too, just to show you what it looks like with an actual wheel on it and how well it fits. Now, obviously, this will depend on your offset and the style wheel you have. These will not fit with a stock wheel. Most people installing something of this nature are going to have an aftermarket wheel, and that won't be an issue. But I'm going to go ahead and throw on one of my Ray's Engineering wheels just to give you guys an idea of how it's going to look. And there we go, guys. That's with the wheel on. Use my light here to light this up a little bit, as it's a dark wheel. It's inside my dark garage, but I want you guys to be able to see it. It fills up that brake, that whole entire wheel looks so much better now. I'm just really, really impressed. I'm actually going to spin the wheel here for you too, guys, just so it gives you a better inclination, like right there. So you guys can see the giant Wilwood. That just looks so cool, especially in your, I don't know, say parked at a show, or if you're actually going to brake. If you're going to Auto X, this is going to give you that extra stopping power you really want, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. My car actually had the 93 plus brakes, but this just gives me that extra confidence knowing that I no longer have to worry about getting the car down and getting it to stop. All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in today. I'm hoping that this really helped you get your brakes on your car. If you need any help, please feel free to contact myself or Ty over at TCS Motorsports. I will have his business info and his website all listed down below. I also have listed below my Facebook, Instagram, and my personal email if you need any help from myself. Thank you guys very much, and I will talk to you later.